Howdy, Adrian from AXIS here. I'm just going to talk through the process of how to recast the end of your mast. If it starts to get any play in there, it's a relatively easy exercise to make it as good as brand new again, and you can do it whenever you want. So basically what I do is I get a little square of masking tape that I've cut up there. This is to block the hole down inside of here, and put that down in there and kind of block the hole. You have a look down inside there, you can see that's kind of blocked the hole. Doesn't have to be perfect, but what you're trying to make is a resin trough so the resin can't run out. So that blocks that. Now on the other side, we need to block these holes here, and at home I normally use blue tack. I can't find any blue tack here today, so I'm just using a bit of glazing putty. It kind of does the same thing, and you just bang a bit of that in the, this is window glazing putty. You just pull it out again afterwards. This is really just to seal that end of the mast bit. Now I use a bit of this tape. This wood's pretty good for this. I can find the end of the tape. So that's covered the end of, that's basically made a trough. Need to push this down again because that process of sticking it on the other side has kind of bulged it out a bit. Now the next step is resin's going to run a bit over here, so you kind of need to protect this area. So I normally do a couple of layers of, this is 2-inch tape down each side like that, and I kind of just leave it hanging out like this. If you stretch the tape, it holds it out. It doesn't flop back on itself. Then you need to do a couple of bits. I don't worry about doing the whole circle perfect there, doesn't matter. And with same across the front, I just go straight across. That kind of covers it. I'm going to do a second bit. I've got the wing cover on here. Sometimes you don't have that on there, but it's what I've got, so I'm rolling with it. There's going to be a bit of resin running out of here, so it's really just trying to keep it from getting all over everywhere. Now, the only other thing that you need to kind of consider is that the resin's going to be in here, in this trough, and you don't want it to run out. So you can see it's slightly downhill at the moment. I've got a roll of masking tape there, and if I pop that under the back, this is more or less level now. So when you fill the resin in there, it's not going to be pouring at the front or the back. It's kind of roughly level. That's pretty much ready to go. The only other thing I need to do is to get some mold release wax. And this just stops the resin from sticking. And put a bit down there. You can use car wax if you haven't got mold release wax sitting around, but mold release wax is the correct product. I also rub it on the masking tape so it doesn't stick to anything there as well. That's that. That's one side. That's your trough ready to go. Now the end of your mast, I'm using a rubber glove there just so I don't transfer the wax all over everything. Okay, the next part, we've got 2 masts here we're doing at the same time. So the end of the mast here, we've sanded that lightly to sort of just abrade it a little bit. All of our masts have a fiberglass layer on the end, and that is to isolate that from the aluminium. It's really important not to sand that glass layer off. But that's been sanded and sanded on the end. Also wiped down with acetone on a cloth, so it's all as clean as it can possibly be. Now, I like to put a couple of layers of masking tape on the end here. This just helps with cleanup. So when you're trying to deal with it all afterwards, it's just not such a mess to deal with. You know, there's no resin to clean off this area. I kind of just do 2 layers on each side. That gives us plenty of room. You want to make it as easy as possible when you've popped it out to clean up. Now, the other thing you've got to do, it's kind of important, and again, I normally use blue tack, is to block these holes here so that the resin doesn't go down inside the mast. So I think blue tack's actually a bit better than this, but this is glazing putty. You sort of make a big booger, and then you poke that down inside the hole. It's got to be a bit skinnier. Yeah, and just push that in as much as you can and smudge it off. That's just to fill the hole. Stop the resin going down into the inserts. That's that. Ready to go. Okay, so we're all prepped. We've got our fuselage with a waxed hole, all the hole sealed in the bottom, and we've got our drip tray, if you like, around the side of it, leveled up with masking tape to make a sort of level trough on both of them, and we are pretty much ready to go. Masts are prepped. Frank's mixing up some resin. This is just normal epoxy resin, and we're putting a little bit of graphite powder in it. Normally I don't bother, I just use straight resin. The graphite powder it thickens it very slightly and gives it a little bit of structure, and it also makes it look black, so it's a bit neater, but you kind of don't need it. Just a bit of normal epoxy resin and hardener is fine. Using fast hardener here, if we work quickly, it should be easy to use that without it exotherming in the pot. Okay, so with this, I pour it into the trough, maybe 1/3 full. Do the other one while I'm at it. Now, the end of the mast is going to go into here. I basically just need to paint some epoxy on the end of that. You want to have wet on wet, everything going together. So I'm making this all covered in sticky shit. Sticky bun. Can't see what I'm doing on the end there. Something like that. Now, after you've done that, you want to put the mast, make sure your hands are clean so you don't get all over the mast. This goes into the hole. Oh, sorry. One important step. So you take your brush and you brush up to the top of your resin trough all the way around. So the top of the resin trough is wet, ready to go. The reason for taking a bit of fussing time with that is the more it's wet on wet, the less chance you've got of getting air bubbles or pockets in there. Now, you want to put this part together as slowly as you can. If you ram it in quickly, the resin will just squirt out the ends, and you can end up with bubbles in there. So just take your time, let that go. And if you've overfilled it slightly, what happens is the resin will come out, and any air bubbles will also come out at the same time. So I'm just slowly letting that drop in there. Takes a while to get it, you're better off to take a bit of time to get that in there. These masts, obviously, they had the base on there already, and they weren't that bad a fit. So they will be centered as far as the mast, centered in the fuselage front and back. If you're recasting a mast shorter, it takes a bit more effort to make sure you get everything straight in there. That's basically all the way home now. So we're going to do the next mast. So we're going to paint up inside here. And we've left ourselves a nice little pool of resin on the table here to coat this one with. You're putting plenty on there, so it's not just a trace, it's a good thick coat of it. Yeah. Ooh. You can kind of feel when it hits the bottom. Yeah, that's bottomed out now. So at this stage, you can run your finger around. A bit of a tidy up. That one looks pretty good already. If there's an air bubble there, you can, burst the air bubble, get that right. Now, the only other thing you kind of need to do, we'll get rid of this now. You just toss that. Take my gloves off. And I get a bit of masking tape. This is just checking to make sure that the mast is sitting at 90 degrees. So I check on the table. It's level. That says it needs to go over there tiny, tiny bit. So I'm just making I check the table is level, kind of assuming that the wing is sitting flat on the table, and looking at it from the front, making sure that the mast is still sitting at 90 degrees. Needed a slight pull over to one side there, and just because I've done a little bit of that, I will stick this side down as well. Just holds it there overnight, so it's at 90 degrees. Check this one as well. Table there is pretty level. Put that on top of there. That one also needs to go that way a tiny bit. It's actually the other way it needs to go. That's square. Have a last look to see if there's anything that needs a bit of a tickle. I've taken my gloves off, so I'm just going to tickle with a, there's a tiny air bubble I was popping there. But it looks pretty clean. Yeah, that's got a tiny air bubble there too. Any air bubbles, if you pop them now, it just makes it easier to tidy up later. Looks pretty good. You can see the plastic on the table was to keep your table in good. That looks beautiful. So the next step now is to let this resin go off. It takes about 5 or 6 hours. This is fast hardener and it's pretty warm here. I generally let it go off overnight. We'll do another one tomorrow when we come back, but basically tomorrow you take the tape off, you push it this way and this way, it'll go crack, crack, and then you kind of hold on it and just wiggle it out gently. It'll come out pretty easily, and then you clean up the glazing putty from the holes and check the threads, make sure they're good, tidy up the end of it if you need with a file, but that's pretty much it. So this is the next step in the whole rebasing process. The resin's gone off. We are pushing it a little bit, so maybe it hasn't gone off quite enough yet, but you can kind of tell by giving it a crack. So put it down here, and you should hear a crack when you push it back and forward. Yeah, that crack back and forward, and then you can just slowly pull that out. It's still not coming out easily. Oh yeah. Yeah. This is a little bit stiff to come out, and I think that's because the resin's only just hard enough. But it is coming. That's a beautiful job. So you can see there's no bubbles in there. It came out pretty good. Now just need to do the cleanup. So that should just come off easy enough. And pick the stuff out of the back of there. That's fuselage tidied up, ready to go again. Now the end of the mast, it needs a bit of a tidy up too. Now there's a bit kind of hanging off the side of here. A bit here. And the tape that's down the side, just push that. That should all peel off pretty clean. Now, the biggest thing is getting these bits here going again. You can see the bit of tape we had in there. So if you just poke that round in a circle, it gets that off. It's not coming off easily. That's coming off more like how it should. So you got to pry the putty back out. That's just tweezering the stuff out. The blue tack's actually a lot nicer to use because it holds together. You can just kind of grab a bit and it just comes, yanks out in one go. Then we can try and put the screw in there. It's actually still got, well, the thread's all good and clean still. So there's no need to do anything. But if that thread doesn't go in well, then we use a drill tap and just clean it out with that. This on the outside needs there's a little flange on there. You really don't want to sand on this, but you can just sand on this top edge a bit. Just till it goes, get that lip off there. Now, when this is cast, the front edge is absolutely straight down and the back edge is now straight down through here. So originally the mast had like a bit of a curve in here so that you could just roll it forward out of the fuselage. So what I can do is I can sand that back into here a little bit to make it easier to get out. But it's, you know, you can actually leave it without that if you don't feel like it. That's about the gist of it. And you can see, like if you try and put that back in that hole now, it's pretty tight. You have to sort of put candle wax on it just to get it back in there. It's that tight the first time. But after a few times, it actually comes pretty good. So this trailing edge here, I'm just going to sand a bit of a I'm not taking anything off here, just taking a bit off here to give it the ability to roll it back out again. That's it, ready to go. If I had a bit of candle wax, I could actually wax that up to get back on there again, but it basically it's not too hard to fit in now. And you can see it's very, very tight. Like a brand new one. Cheers.